beautiful day. De onde batsan. We're so glad that you're all here today. Welcome to our webinar in celebration of National Native American Heritage Month, highlighting innovative professional development practices in tribal early childhood programs. I'm Melody Redbird Post, and I'll be your moderator today. I'm going to go over some logistical items before we get started. This webinar is being recorded for future reference. The webinar recording and a link to these presentation slides will be made available online following the webinar. Be on the lookout for a follow-up email to registered participants with that information included. All audio and phone lines will be muted to reduce background noise. However, if you have a question, feel free to use the chat box on your screen. There will also be opportunities to ask questions of our presenters today. When you're ready to ask a question, just type it into the chat box or press *6 to take yourself off mute and share. We also have some resources for you to explore. On the right side of your screen, you see a box right above the chat box that says Resource Links. Feel free to explore those resources as we go through our presentation today. And while we get started, we invite you to introduce yourselves in the chat box on your screen and let everyone know who's here with us today. So please, if you would, share your name, your title or role, and the tribe or tribal program that you represent. We all look forward to our time together today, so let's get started. Ako. This webinar today is made possible through the collaboration among the many partners you see here, including the Office of Child Care, the Office of Head Start, the Administration for Native Americans, the Office on Planning, Research, and Evaluation, the Tribal Early Childhood Research Center, the Tribal Maternal, Infant, and Early Childhood Home Visiting Program, the National American Indian and Alaska Native Head Start Collaboration Office, and the National Center on Tribal Early Childhood Development. During the presentation today, you'll hear from representatives of all the partners that you saw on the previous slide. The presenters you hear from today are open to taking questions, so feel free to ask any questions that you have using the chat box on the right-hand corner of your screen. We're especially pleased spotlight presenters Catherine Chavez of the Tiwa Baby Program, as well as our Administration for Native Americans grantee spotlight presenter Cheryl Hammock of Bay Mills Community College, and our Child Care Development Fund and Head Start, Early Head Start grantee spotlight presenter Carrie Stansbury of the Gila River Indian Community. Our goal today is to raise awareness of the innovations in professional development practices and to hear about ongoing initiatives involving collaboration as well as effective professional development strategies. We look forward to sharing ideas and resources and perhaps even inspiration with you all today. So first we're going to hear from the Administration for Children and Families for our welcoming remarks. Next, we'll share some highlights on the current tribal early childhood workforce, and then we'll hear about federal level innovations. And next, we'll get to hear from our 3 tribal program spotlight presenters. And then we'll conclude with closing remarks and resources. And so with that, to get us started, I'm going to turn it over to the Office of Head Start for welcoming remarks, as well as the Office of Child Care for welcoming remarks.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon and good morning to anybody who might be joining us from the furthest reaches out west in the great state of Alaska. My name is Talva Juntarengo. I am the Regional Program Manager for the Office of Head Start's Region 11. In Region 11, we have the honor to support all of our American Indian and Alaska Native programs around the country. I do want to start with thanking everyone who made it a priority to join today's webinar, and I also want to send a special thank you to all the coordinators of today's webinar for providing me an opportunity to participate and support this event. Being November, I think recognizing and celebrating Native American Heritage Month is so important because it is a time when nationally we celebrate the indigenous people and nations of this country. We get a chance to celebrate the cultures and languages of tribes throughout the country. And through the work of those on today's call, the cultures and languages that are being revitalized, incorporated, and or immersed more and more in tribal early childhood programs across the country. As many of us who work in the field of early childhood know, research has shown that the majority of human brain development occurs in early childhood, as much as 80% by the age of 3 and as much as 90% by the age of 5. And so to me, to think about those facts is really absolutely amazing. But one thing it does for me is it really does emphasize the huge responsibility that's placed on all of us who work in the field of early childhood development. In the case of those of us who work with tribes and American Indian Alaska Native programs, I think for us it's never important to also never lose the perspective of the fact that our responsibility also transcends not just education, but also the future of tribal children, families, and tribal communities. To maximize our impact on those future generations, I do believe it requires all of us to practice what we teach and commit ourselves to also being lifelong learners and to be intentional about our own professional development, our own capacity building, and the capacity building of our teams. Today's webinar, I know, is going to focus on a lot of the work that's being done to support professional development within tribal early childhood programs. I'm really excited to hear about what's happening around the country. I'm also very excited to hear from my colleague and friend here at the Office of Head Start, Ms. Jennifer Amaya Thompson, and the work that's taking place around the newly funded tribal colleges and universities and Head Start partnership grants that have been funded through the Office of Head Start. So before I pass the mic, so to speak, I do want to wish our colleagues around the country a joyous and safe holiday season. And with that, I want to introduce Ms. Jennifer Amaya Thompson, who is our Culture and Language Lead here at the Office of Head Start, and is also the Federal Project Officer for our new tribal colleges and universities and Head Start partnership grants.
Thank you, Todd. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to be with all of you today. As Melody and Todd had mentioned, November is the National Native American Heritage Month. This November and every month, we celebrate the cultures, the languages, and the heritage of tribal communities and recognize what makes tribal communities so unique and special. Again, as Pat mentioned, my name is Jennifer Amaya. I am the Content Lead for Culture and Language at the Office of Head Start and the Federal Project Officer for the Tribal Colleges and Universities under the Division of Comprehensive Services and Training and Technical Assistance at the Administration of Children and Families at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I am really excited and honored to be part of today's 2020 webinar that celebrates and highlights innovative professional development practices in tribal early childhood programs. A year ago, in 2019, we had the opportunity to celebrate school readiness in tribal early childhood programs across the United States. And the year before, we highlighted the tribal early childhood efforts to support language revitalization across the nation. Today's webinar continues to demonstrate an example of effective cross-federal, regional, and program-level collaboration and partnerships that truly honor and celebrate early childhood programs in tribal nations. Every day, every year, since the inception of Head Start in 1965, the Office of Head Start continues to honor the rich cultural heritage of tribal children, families, and communities. Today, over 40,000 American Indian Alaska Native children and their families are served by Head Start programs across 26 states. The Head Start program performance standards continues to support the implementation, as Todd mentioned earlier, of culturally and linguistic responsive practices that provide high-quality services for young children and their families. Head Start recognizes the importance of its workforce and supports professional development opportunities that enhance the knowledge and skill of the staff working with children and families. Early childhood educators are increasingly recognized for the critical role they can play in giving children purpose, set them for success as citizens of the world, and inspire them to drive and to do well and succeed in life. In supporting a qualified early childhood workforce, the Office of Head Start, as Todd mentioned earlier,
has awarded $4 million to tribal colleges and universities for the purpose of establishing or enhancing partnerships with Head Start programs to effectively increase the number of qualified education staff working in American Indian, Alaska Native Head Start and Early Head Start programs. Tribal colleges and universities are funded through this program to offer careful designs, high-quality, accessible, and flexible programs that increase the number of qualified staff eligible for Head Start and Early Head Start education positions. The TCUs are partnering with more than one tribal Head Start grantee to retain enrollment students to responsive and effective support their education, resulting in credentialing of degrees. This partnership also includes all the support necessary for AIAN, current or potential staff members to successfully participate in the program and acquire the degrees or credentials. This partnership truly demonstrates the ongoing commitment of Head Start in building and strengthening its workforce. In closing, I hope you enjoyed today's presentation and continue to join our efforts to support the value of maintaining tribal culture, linguistic heritage, which is the foundation of school success and beyond. Before I end my remarks and introduce you to my dear colleague, Jenny Gibbs, from the Office of Child Care, I also wanted to thank all of you who are participating in today's webinar for your ongoing efforts, your daily commitment, and your ongoing passion to provide high-quality services to American Indian, Native Alaskan, and many other tribal children, families, and their Native communities. A special thank you to the Administration of Native Americans for joining us today and doing our closing remarks, as well as all of our partners who worked very hard in putting this national webinar together for you. Once again, thank you, Melody. Thank you, Todd. And I am transitioning to my dear colleague and friend, Jenny Gibbs. Jenny?
Thanks, Jennifer. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Okay. Again, thank you so much, Jennifer and Todd. It's, following my dear Head Start colleagues whom we've worked together a number of years together, it's always hard to follow them because it's like, being the presentation when you're really hungry at a meeting, you're getting toward lunch. They always provide really great, rich information about the Head Start program services, the comprehensive services that they provide. And now Jennifer talking about the new TCU grants. That's just fantastic, and we're very excited about that. So I wanted to start out a little bit differently and just say that I have a special place in my heart for professional development and continued learning, particularly in Indian country, having married into a family of Lakota educators. So this is 3 brothers all involved in tribal colleges and universities, and their lovely mother, my mother-in-law, who taught Lakota language and culture at Sitting Bull College on the Standing Rock Reservation in Fort Yates, North Dakota, until she sadly passed about 10 years ago. And most recently, my brother-in-law, Dave, a longtime TCU president, about 35 years, passed into the spirit world in September. But I'm so blessed to have been included in so many interesting family discussions over the years about TCUs and culturally relevant education, Indian education at the national level, at the tribal level, and so back to Dave. My brother-in-law just passed with United Tribes Technical College. I miss him dearly, but I know how fortunate I am to have learned so much from him. And those memories and his wisdom I'll always carry with me in a special place in my heart. So today I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the Office of Child Care, where I've worked for 25 incredible years. And a little bit about our office, the Office of Child Care, because I know there are a lot of different people from different, representing different programs or different parts of tribes, and I believe we have a couple of people from states and some regional office folks, which is fantastic. I always check the registration list because I like to see who's on there. So a little bit about the Office of Child Care. We support low-income working families through child care financial assistance, which means the child care subsidy program, and we promote children's early learning by improving the quality of early care and education programs. This is a really exciting year for us. This is with the Office of Child Care's 30th anniversary of the Child Care and Development Block Grant, which is the original authorizing legislation for our program, the Child Care and Development Fund, more commonly known, if you're in our little world, as CCDF. We have 265 tribal CCDF grantees, and these are federally recognized tribes and consortia of federally recognized tribes. The CCDF, as I said, it's a block grant. I think I said that. If I didn't, it's a block grant that provides states, territories, and tribes with some flexibility to design their services within federal regulations. And this is where we see exciting innovations, partnerships, and collaborations, especially in the area of professional development. I'm really looking forward to learning more about these innovations during the tribal presentations later on in this webinar. And before I turn it over to my colleague, Meryl Borofsky, I'd like to say a special word of thanks to Melody Redford-Post, who's our webinar moderator. She directs OCC's National Center on Tribal Early Childhood Development, and she and her team are doing a fantastic job helping our tribal child care grantees learn, grow, and innovate across the country. So on to you, Meryl. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginny. My name is Meryl Borofsky, and I am in the Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation in ACF, and we are the research wing of ACF, and I will be starting this section on some highlights about the early childhood workforce in Indian country. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Great. Actually, the next one. Thank you. So the data that I'm going to be sharing, I'm just going to be sharing a little snapshot, although we have this in the resources tab for you. But it is from a study called the American Indian Alaska Native Head Start Family and Child Experiences Survey, or AIN FACES, 2015. That was the first time we launched this study. It's nationally representative of Region 11, and we actually were out in the field in 2019, 2020, and so look soon for some findings coming out from that study. But here I just wanted to highlight a couple findings about staff that we have from that study. So about a third, as you can see from what we found, that's the Regional 11 teachers are very experienced. More than a third of children have a teacher or a lead teacher who has taught in Head Start or Early Head Start for 10 years or more. And then another quarter of children have a teacher who has been teaching for 5 to 9 years. If we can go to the next slide, please. And Regional 11 Head Start teachers really enjoy teaching and feel that they're making a difference. Nearly all Region 11 children have teachers who report enjoying their present job and who report that they believe they are making a difference in the lives of children that they teach. Next slide, please. And then finally, just I wanted to share some information about professional development. Region 11 teachers are supported in their professional development. As you can see from this slide, about 90 to 100% of children have teachers who say they have access to a variety of supports, including workshops and trainings, meetings to talk about their progress at work, paid preparation and planning time, early childhood conferences, collaboration and training with other tribal services or offices, and mentoring or coaching. And if you'd like to learn more about AIN FACES or access to additional findings, I suggest you Google AIN FACES OPRE. That is a lot easier than going onto our website, but this is really just a small portion of our findings. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Mike Richardson from the AIN Head Start Collaboration Office, who will share some findings based on Region 11 Program Information Report, or PIR, data, and some examples of innovations in professional development from Head Start and Early Head Start professionals.
Mike Richardson, my name is Mike Richardson. I'm the National American and Alaska Native Head Start Collaboration Director. I work in partner with Joanna Whitaker, who works with me. And what we've done is, to follow what Merle has said, is that we put together some information about Head Start, Early Head Start teacher degrees and credentials. And if you look at this, you'll see that our Head Start teachers, where they followed on their bachelor's degrees, as well as their CDAs, their AA degrees, and so forth. and we are way below where we should be at this. And that's one of the impacts that we have within our communities is finding qualified people to work. As you know, that a lot of our communities are very remote, and they only have the people that's available to them there unless they come in from outside. And this can cause some issues just trying to keep qualified staff on. One of the things in my office is 3 of our top priorities is language, cultural revitalization. We also the advocacy for mental health disabilities. So we'll go out and have those discussions about when children need to get services and so forth. But another one of our top priorities is professional development. So we work with all 37 tribal colleges, universities. I brief them and talk to all the tribal college presidents at least once a year, as well as having meetings with individual colleges throughout the year. And we try to make sure that our tribal colleges understand the needs that we have from our Head Start programs, as well as our child care and our communities as a whole. So this is one of the things we try to do. And looking at this, it's a huge thing to try to bring all those different pieces together. And even when you look at that, the percentage of our tribal people that are teaching in the classrooms is so much lower. We are bringing in people from outside of our communities in order to get qualified people. And we want to home grow our people. We feel like that our people that come from our communities would be there. The problem is having those qualifications. So we're working very hard to do that. For those that are non-tribal that are working in our communities, we appreciate them, and we thank so much of them to come into our communities. But we still have such a huge shortage of people. And when we're looking at language and cultural revitalization to go along with this, having our people from our communities to work in the classrooms is a huge asset to us to be able to do this. So we're working very hard, not only with our tribal colleges and universities, but also with our local colleges and universities. And we want to improve in this area, and we have to work very hard to do that. Our tribal colleges have listened to us, and we're looking to expand in not only early childhood, but also into mental health disabilities, dietitians, health people, management, and all the different areas that support those areas. So my office is, we partner with everyone that can impact our tribal communities, especially those that's going to impact our early childhood programs, both Head Start and child care. So we've also partnered with the American Indian College Fund. They've supported us with language and cultural funds to help support. We put on language summits throughout the country in different states, and we usually partner with our tribal colleges to do this. And this is our 4th year doing that. Unfortunately, we have to cancel the ones for this year. This is something we continue to do. And brings all those people together, not only the Head Start programs and child care programs, but also the local schools and stuff, along with the tribal colleges. The tribal college universities, as I said before, you know, that's someone who we partner with on a regular basis, and we will continue to do this. So if you have issues or things that you feel like you need in your communities, please reach out to us, let us know that. Just a small thing on Early Ed U Allowance. We're partnering with them, and they partner with Office of Head Start, and this is where they bring in additional resources that are free to both the college and to the students, and they have professionals that come in and work with them to improve and enhance the different ones. I know Bay Mills Community Colleges will be coming on later, and I'll let Cheryl talk a little bit more about that, but they've done an amazing job on the online courses and extending out. One of the things we encourage our Head Start directors and tribal leaders that to allow educational leave and flex time so our staff can get those credentials that they need. We would try in every way possible to work with you. And then in the state itself, whatever collaborations we can do to provide additional resources, we would do that. So we will continue to work with you and to provide every resource possible to help in professional development. I will be followed by Mushimi from the program. She's a program manager for Tribal Home Visiting Program and Office of Child Care. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Moshmi Beltangady. I'm
work in the Office of Child Care. We also, in the Office of Child Care, administer the Tribal Maternal Infant and Early Childhood Home Visiting Program, which is a program that provides funds to tribes, tribal organizations, and urban Indian organizations to implement evidence-based home visiting programs with pregnant women and parents and caregivers with children under kindergarten entry. So I wanted to share a little bit about the characteristics of the tribal MCV workforce. We don't have a lot of information, but we do receive information from our grantees about some characteristics of their staff, just to give you a sense of the workforce. So you can see here demographic characteristics. We have about a fifth of the home visitors in tribal MCV are under 30, and then you can see the breakdown for the other ages. The most common age range is between 30 and 39. We have an overwhelmingly female tribal MCV home visitor workforce, although there are some wonderful male home visitors who are providing excellent services to their communities. And we have about 64% of the home visitors who are American Indian and Alaska Native, either AIAN alone, or they may be more than one race, including AIAN. And about 22% of home visitors are white. So I did also want to give you a sense of the educational attainment of tribal MCV home visitors, and Mike just shared some of that information for the Region 11 Head Start and Early Head Start teachers. What I'm showing here is a slide that has one column with the statistics for the tribal MCV home visitors, and one column which has statistics from the Mother and Infant Home Visiting Program Evaluation, which was a national evaluation of the overall MCV program. So just to give you a sense of how the tribal MCV workforce compares to the overall home visiting workforce and the data that was collected in that study. So you can see that we have a much higher percentage of home visitors with a high school diploma or GED or less, and we also have a higher percentage with some college or training. We also have a much higher percent with an associate's degree or technical training or certification, and then a significantly lower percent with either a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or higher. So we know this is a workforce that brings incredible strengths. They, many are community members. They understand the needs of their communities and are able to provide excellent services to their families. But definitely there is a lot of support that can be provided to them to make sure that they're able to provide those services. And so we really do, invest a lot in professional development for the tribal MCV home visitors, including supporting reflective supervision, infant and early childhood mental health consultation, and training, and other types of technical assistance to our grantees and their home visitors. So I'm very excited for you to hear from Taos Pueblo's Tiwa Babies home visiting program later in this webinar, so you can kind of get a sense of the things that our tribal MCV grantees are doing to support their home visitors' professional development. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Moshmi. And now for our next part, we're going to go ahead and transition over to Carmelia Strickland, or Mia, with the Administration for Native Americans. I'll hand it over to you, Mia.
Thank you, Melody. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be with you. My name is Carmelia Strickland, officially, but I go by the name Mia, and I'm a member of the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina. The Administration for Native Americans was established in 1974, so we're actually celebrating our 45th year of existence, and our authorizing legislation is known as the Native American Programs Act, or NAPA, And ANA provides about $45 million annually in discretionary grant funding, and our eligible population includes American Indian, Alaska Native, both federal and non-federal, those that are state recognized. And we can also fund our Native Hawaiians and other tribal Native nonprofits across the United States. We can also serve our Pacific Islanders as far away as Guam, American Samoa, and the Northern Mariana Islands. ANA's mission is to promote the goal of self-sufficiency and cultural preservation for Native Americans by providing social and economic development opportunities through financial assistance, training, and technical assistance to our eligible populations. And our vision is Native communities are thriving. The programs that we most often use to support professional development of teachers happens in 3 of our program areas. The Native American Language Preservation and Maintenance Program, P&M, which can fund up to 3 years with a ceiling of $300,000 annually. We also have a program for Native language, which is more about immersion instruction. That's called the Esther Martinez Immersion, EMI program, which was reauthorized last year by Congress to extend the program funding up to 5 years at a $300,000 ceiling per year. And then our largest program is Social and Economic Development Strategies, SEDS, which can fund up to 3 years as well with a ceiling of $400,000 annually. So for today's presentation, we looked at data from our current grantees that were funded in 2018, 2019, and this year as well in the 3 program areas that I mentioned. And these grants include data that was specific for training for early childhood teachers or staff that work with children ages birth to 2nd grade. So we may be doing actually more training, but it's not going to be reflected in the numbers I'm about to show you. As well, in addition to learning how to teach, we also found a lot of our projects are training teachers specifically to teach Native languages. So that's another very interesting part of ANA and the projects that we fund. So the data about this on the next slide comes from what we call the outcome tracker data, and these are the number of projected outcomes that we funded to be able to be achieved. So these aren't actual numbers. These are what the applicants proposed in their applications. So you can see in 2018, we funded 7 grants to train early childhood teachers. And because the number is so high, it's because they have received actual 3 years of funding, 2018, 2019, and 2020. So currently we have invested almost $6 million in that group. And in 2019, we funded 5 more grants to train early childhood teachers and staff. Currently, an investment there is of $2.75 million. And then this year, ANA funded 5 grants to specifically target teachers who were going to train birth to 2nd grade, it's a birth to 2 years old. And that's at a level of about $1.3 million. And this slide shows the number of early childhood teachers and staff that are supposed to be trained by the project. In 2018, we funded projects that would train about 62 new teachers, and then in 2019, 23 new teachers. And this year, even though it was a fewer number of grants, they're proposed to train up to 70 new teachers. I'd love to see how ANA funding makes an impact in our communities. And finally, the type of trainings that are occurring, we found that 12 of the grants awarded in 2018 will fund a total of 100 early childhood teachers and staff to be trained in a native language. 8 we also found that 4 grants awarded within the years identified will fund a total of 51 early childhood staff to get child development associate certifications. And then also with this cohort, we found that 1 grant funded was funded to train a total of 2 early childhood teachers in the Montessori certification. And next we are going to transition to what innovative practices we found across ACF to provide innovative ways of workforce development. And I wanted to share for ANA, in 2016, we funded a special initiative to bridge the gap of language instruction in Native American communities. We called this the Native Language Community Coordination Demonstration Project, also known as NLC. And because we found that while Native language instruction may happen in Head Starts or with very young children, when those students grow older and continue their education in elementary or middle school, the Native language wasn't available and it wasn't being taught. So NLCC awards were issued as cooperative agreements. We've been working with 5 cohort members since 2016 to get this effort underway. It's a very special and important initiative, and we only funded it once so that we can learn from it. So in addition to the tribes listed on this slide, we also funded the Cherokee Nation and Ani Nakota College. But I wanted to highlight the work of the 3 recipients on this slide. The Sunak tribe in Alaska created a native immersion language nest that started with no trained or certified teachers. Today, not only do they have trained teachers, but they are now seeking early childhood education teacher credentials from their state university. And in California, the Yurok tribe have a strong focus on producing credentialed instructors who are receiving not only an education degree, they're with the 3 different partnering higher education institutions. They're also teaching those candidates how to speak their native language in order to obtain the state's native language teaching credentials. So far, the Yurok have 4 teachers that have completed their training, and they're still working with 8 other candidates that are still in training. And finally, the Kiowa tribe of Oklahoma is adding an annual cohort of 5 candidates, 1 each year in each of the 5 most populous communities where Kiowa community members live, and they hope to achieve teaching credentials by the 5th year of their project. Without trained teachers, we cannot ensure the future vitality of Native American language. We know just because you can speak the language doesn't mean you can teach it. So individuals who learn both the profession of teaching as well as how to speak their native languages are our superheroes. And I'll turn it over to Meryl to continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. You could go to the next slide, please. Thanks. Oops, the one right before that. Thanks. So, hello again. I am going to share a little bit about one of our research grantees. We have several research programs, or grant programs for research, but the one that I'm going to be talking about today is the Child Care Development Block Grant Implementation Research and Evaluation Grant. This was a research grant that was open to all state, territory, and tribal CCDF lead agencies, and we currently have 6 grantees, and Cook Inlet Tribal Council is our 1 tribal grantee. And as you can see on the screen, I won't read it out, but they have 3 primary research questions, but their main one is really whether a process for designing and delivering professional development that's research-informed, provider-centered, and responsive to specific identified community needs improves early childhood educators' ability to provide culturally responsive care in Alaskan and Indigenous settings. And they're doing this research project in partnership with the Institute for Social and Economic Research at the University of Alaska Anchorage. And if we can go to the next slide. Thank you. And to just say, through this grant, they were able to pick any aspect of the CCDBG law, the Act of 2014, to implement their research on. And so this project is also pretty unique in the cohort of grantees, I think, because they chose something that is very specific to the tribal pieces of the legislation. And I think it's really exciting. So they are currently they just started year 3 of 4 years, although, you know, with COVID, I think we might go a little bit longer. But to date, they've done a lot of things. They launched a survey, and they did focus groups with parents as well as providers to understand what culturally responsive practices are important to them. And then they created these, they call them drafts, but the cultural guidelines and indicators for ECE. And through this entire process, they've been working with a cultural advisory committee. They've also been talking a lot with educators, both in early childhood as well as, you know, in K-12 to get feedback on this. They developed and implemented a training on the cultural standards and indicators. And then they were in the middle of conducting a pre-intervention assessment of teachers, so using these guidelines to see if teachers were doing things in the classroom that were in support of these cultural indicators. That got a little halted due to COVID-19, and hopefully they'll be able to start that again. And then, as I said, they're really engaging in an extensive process of obtaining feedback and input from Indigenous early childhood educators from across the state. And so this is also look for more to come from this project as they continue their work, and we will definitely share as they get findings in. So I think I'm handing it back to Melody. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Meryl. All right. So with that, we now will be able to transition into the next part of our presentation, and this is the one I've been looking forward to, and we are going to hear about our tribal program innovations with a spotlight on the tribal early childhood workforce and professional development supports. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first spotlight presenters. I'm going to go ahead and hand the presentation over to Catherine Chavez and Aspen Mirabel with Taos Pueblo's Chihuahua Babies program. So Catherine, I'll hand it over to you.
Good afternoon,
Catherine,
everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, yep.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Catherine Chavez, and I am the program coordinator for Taos Pueblo Chihuahua Babies program. We are a home visiting program that provides services to families, to prenatal families and families with children 0 to 5 years old at Taos Pueblo and Taos County. What Todd said earlier about lifelong learners, I feel that's our program. We're always learning and thriving to learn and wanting to learn. But what I've noticed is learning collaboratively is the best way to learn. We have a lot of partners, but one partner that we really work with is the Taos Pueblo Head Start and Early Head Start. Through ACF, we are presently working on a CQI collaborative project, which focuses on early language and literacy. And we partnered with with Taos Pueblo Head Start to learn more about how we can really promote this in the community. And thanks to our Taos Pueblo Education Director, Bettina Sandoval, we came together, and we are in the process of developing a Tiwa language nest. And we meet every 2 weeks, and we talk about how we can preserve the language there at Tiwa Babies, but we've connected that to our CQI collaborative through ACF. And the collaborative also includes other tribal McVie home visiting programs. So we're learning together. We're working collectively together with our strengths and our curiosity and reflection, and we're continually applying our learning towards this. Another project we're working on is we have partnered again with our Taos Pueblo Head Start, Early Head Start, and we're also partnering with the Native Children's Trauma Center, and we're learning about secondary trauma, understanding ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences, and secondary trauma. So doing it together and pulling in resources has been very successful for our program. You know, we're a small tribal rural community up in the mountains, as you can see in our picture. It's such a beautiful place. But together, collaboratively learning, we have found has been the success for our program. I'm going to pass this on to the home visitor, Aspen Mirabal, and she can talk about her experience.
And Aspen, you may have to press *6 to unmute.
Maybe she might not be in the room. She might have got disconnected. But I'll go ahead and continue talking. This is Catherine until she comes on. Another.
Hello, can you hear me? Yay, okay. Yeah, I got kicked out of the room.
Yeah,
thank you, Catherine. Greetings all. It's an honor to be here on this webinar today, to be heard. My name is Aspen Mirabal. I'm a Taos Pueblo tribal member, living, loving, thriving on the base of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, where land meets sky, place of the Red Willow. Today I'm carrying with me the divine essence of my maternal ancestors and the passion and wisdom of my paternal Pueblo elders and ancestors. Today, well, actually, a couple of weeks ago, I just completed 2 years as a tribal home visitor with Tiwa Babies. It's been the most rewarding and educational experiences for me. Each day that I've been able to connect with a family, be it over Zoom, FaceTime, text, or call, I am reminded of my purpose as an educator. Prior to being a home visitor, I found my passion pretty early on in the revitalization of Indigenous birth work, which is a whole long thing too. But anyways, being a part of Tiwa Babies, wow, Tiwa Babies has provided me with the skills necessary to connect with families on a more trustworthy, multidimensional level due to the ongoing professional development that I've been provided with. Something that I'd like to expand on is a training that I took at the beginning of the year. In February 2020, Tiwa Babies supported my education in lactation support. And this was through the Indigenous Breastfeeding Counselor Training, a course that is Native designed, Native taught, and specific for those that self-identify as Indigenous. The Indigenous Breastfeeding Counselor Training was a 5-day-long course, or 45-hour course, that provided me with foundational lactation education and with a certification that allows me to provide clinical breastfeeding support to my community. And Taos is rural. We don't have a lot of resources. And I feel so honored to be a home visitor, providing not only lactation support, early childhood support, or just familial support, connecting people to resources. It's a serious calling. It's something that comes naturally. I love connecting with families. And yeah, I just am so thankful for my supervisor, Catherine, who spoke before me. Even though I'm a rookie home visitor, I've only been here for 2 years, she's really helped to mold me and to provide a sense of structure in this setting, because prior to being a home visitor, I was kind of all over the place. I am pretty young. And with my colleagues' knowledge, with the support of our data coordinator and all of our other partners, whether that be in the community, state level, or nationwide, I feel like I'm flourishing, and I'm so lucky to be heard today and to share just a little bit of how being a home visitor has been for me. So thank you so much. Melody?
Thank you so much, Aspen. And
Okay.
yes. Thank you so much, Catherine, and thank you, Aspen. That was so awesome to hear about all of the work that you're doing. We did wanted to take a few minutes to have questions from the participants here that are listening in on the webinar. So I wanted to open it up to see if anyone has any questions. I did notice we had a couple questions come into the chat box, Catherine and Aspen, while you were speaking. So I'm going to go ahead and just read the question, and then either of you can answer, however. So the first question looks like it is from Laura. Laura asks, can you tell me how Tiwa Babies program is funded? Is it with tribal NNAHM funds, the tribal home visiting funds?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We are funded by the ACF, Administration of Children and Families, Tribal McVie. We run 5-year grant, 5 years. Our grant is 5 years, and then we renew. And we've been really supported by ACF also. I mean, we have so much professional development, like we just had time to focus on these two. But without the support of ACF and all the support they provide for professional development, you know, I've worked in several places, and this is one place where I'm like a kid in the candy store with all the opportunities to receive this professional development, which is, you know, it's a parallel process. What we learn, we pass it on to the parents we work with, and then the parents pass it on to their children. So it's a complete parallel process. But yes, that's who we are funded by, Tribal McVie, ACF.
Thank you, Catherine. And there is another question in the chat box, and the question is from Christine. She says, how does the Tiwa Babies program work with the Taos language program in the community?
Do you want to answer that, Aspen, or do you want? Go ahead, Aspen. You can answer that.
Sorry, my connection is weird. Did you ask Catherine if I would answer that? Okay, yeah, so I don't know when this actually started, but we meet on every 2 weeks, we meet with the Tiwa language program. And what's really cool is the individuals that are leading this project, the Tiwa language instructors, and they're relatives, they're community members of mine, and it's super familial and beautiful, and these conversations happen every 2 weeks, like I mentioned, but they are constantly ongoing because of the mutual families that we support. But on a on a deeper level, I don't know, Catherine, maybe you can answer that.
Yeah, can I don't know if I can be heard.
Yes, we can
Hello?
hear you.
Okay. That *6 just throws me off. Yeah, so again, we were approached because we work so collaboratively with all the Taos Pueblo programs. The Tivo language, Taos Pueblo Tivo language program was working on preserving the language, and what better way to do it through children. So they knew we worked with children, and we collaborated it, and just we're taking it out into the community. We're even providing, we call them Tiwa circles, where families come. Right now it's through Zoom. Everything's through Zoom, where families come and learn the language. And we invite families that are enrolled in home visiting, and we invite all community families with children 0 to 5 years old. Our first event was really successful because the teachers in the Tivo language talked about setting a table, so something that families can do every day. So it wasn't another thing to do, it was just incorporating it into their child's daily life.
I love that example, Catherine. Thank you. It looks like we do have another question in the chat box. And the question is from Christine: does the program staff work with any local university for training purposes as well?
Currently we don't. We don't have we have a branch of the university here, which is the University of New Mexico, but we don't. That is one partner we haven't tapped into yet. We know the Tiwa language program works with them, so we consider ourselves all as one. Tiwa language and us and Early Head Start, we consider ourselves, just the early education, early childhood education group. So directly we don't, but indirectly we do, if that answers your question.
All right, thank you, Catherine. So I don't see any more questions in the chat box, but I do know that we have people who are listening through the audio line. And so I just wanted to invite anyone who has a question that they want to ask about the Tiwa Babies program for Catherine or Aspen to please, I invite you to press *6 on your phone, and that should unmute your line, and we should be able to hear you. So just wanted to invite anyone to ask any questions you have.
Good afternoon. This is Todd. Can folks hear me?
Yes. Hey, Todd.
Hi. I did have a question. One, I'm very glad to hear about the partnership that's happening at Taos and what you guys are seeing as a result of that. I know that efforts like that definitely take a lot of collaboration at the tribal level. I know I've been blessed to have visited Taos several times and worked with folks there at the Head Start, also with the folks at your finance office. I think then it was Sean and Lisa. I don't know if they're still there, but can you guys speak on a little bit about how that collaboration came about and how you guys keep all the programs involved and all the staff involved, I think, on the same page so that you can implement programs or initiatives across multiple programs like that?
Thank you so much, Todd. Was there anyone who had any other questions for Catherine or Aspen?
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, I wanted to answer. So I answered Todd's question, but nobody heard me?
Oh, no. No, we didn't hear you. Go ahead.
I talked so much. Okay, I'll start again. Todd, Sean and Lisa are still there at the Pueblo, so I'll give your regards to them. But how we collaborate, how we started to collaborate, it's called the Early Learning Committee, and we meet every month, and it's our Tiwa babies, it is our behavior health, it is our social services, it is our youth program, it is our Head Start program, and even we invite partners that are not native, but they work with native or the native population. So we come together monthly and we talk about early childhood issues and concerns, and we celebrate early childhood. And that's how we are able to stay on the same page. It's that constant relationship, and we look at the strengths amongst us all, amongst each program, what we bring to the community. So it's really a shared ownership versus one program leading.
Thank you, Catherine. It looks like we do have another question in the chat box, and I think we could probably take one more question, so I'm going to go ahead and read this. It's Terry asks, are there elders that work in teaching the language, and do you have volunteers that help with teaching the language?
This is Catherine. From the Tiwa babies, we don't, but the Tiwa language program does. They do. And what they do is they have, again, classes right now through Zoom. And I know they have a variety, like they have new learners, intermediate, and then people that really know the language that just want to converse. But I know they do utilize the community to preserve the language.
Just want to add a little bit to that. This is Aspen speaking. Our language is not written. There are no recordings. When it comes to teaching language, it can be quite controversial. And that's solely for the purpose that in preserving our language, we feel like we must keep it a secret, therefore keeping it sacred. And so we do rely heavily on our elders and older generations to converse with our young ones. I myself am not fluent in my Tiwa language, and thinking about younger generations than it's kind of heartbreaking to see that a lot of these elders that I would rely so much on to converse and teach me and others to speak aren't doing that. And that's because they want to communicate with their kiddos and be heard and meet them halfway. And so when it comes to the elders being in a proper space, it's in ceremony, to be honest. It's when we're gathering in the cornfield for harvest, when we're gathering for like our dance practice for other harvest celebrations. That's when we are able to really hear the language. And so thinking about this past year with COVID, like Catherine had mentioned, we have been gathering on Zoom, which is pretty cool. I'm really glad that there's a platform out there that's tailored to those that are beginning learners and those just wanting to converse with each other. So I think we're finally coming to a point where not only can we hold space for providing language support in a ceremonial setting, but now outside of that, which is something that I've been longing for and wanting for those, especially for those families that don't live in the Taos area and that may be out of state or even out of town. This is really useful.
Thank you so much for that, Aspen. let's see, I am looking to see if we have any other questions. So I just wanted to say, Catherine and Aspen, I don't know if you can scroll up and down in the chat box, but you have lots of acknowledgments in the chat box, so if you get a chance to kind of look at that. So just wanted to, I don't hear any other questions, so we're going to go ahead and transition to our next presenter, but I just wanted to say thank you so much to Catherine and Aspen for taking the time to share about your program today, and we really appreciated you sharing with us, and just look forward to hearing more about the things that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So with that, we're going to go ahead and transition to our next spot. I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl Hammock with Bay Mills Community College, and she's speaking on behalf of the ANA grantees. So Cheryl, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Cheryl Hammock. I'm the Early Childhood Education Department Chair and faculty member. The Early Childhood Advisory Committee for the college wrote a grant. They had wrote several grants over the last 15 years because they noticed that in their area for early childhood, there has been a huge shortage, not only across the nation, but where we're at locally as well. So they have been writing grants numerously to try to be able to get an online bachelor's degree program for about 15 years. And then they successfully landed one in 2017 from ANA that allowed them to be able to create an online bachelor's degree program here at the college. So I was hired under the grant, and my specific job as the program developer was to come in and work with the advisory committee and go ahead and get this developed and get it accredited from the Higher Learning Commission. So just on a short line of a task, as I'm a Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians member, so I come from, about a half hour away to come out to the college. But this first video here, I just wanted to, because I giggle, I say every morning on my drive out here, I'm blessed to be heading west. So if we can go ahead and play the footage here. This is just some footage, and I'll talk as we go through the process here. So this is just some footage of IT and just of the college itself. This is our brand new administration building, the Mickey Parish building that was just recently built, and we are I'm not in the building, but it is connected here for us to have more classrooms now. We are located here on Lake Superior, so it's just gorgeous to come here anytime. Even in the snow, it's gorgeous. But so our advisory committee is made up of local people from different programs and different early childhood programs in the Upper Peninsula. So we have a representative from ITC of Michigan. We have a representative from the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe Early Childhood Program. We got a representative as the director of the Community Action Head Start program. So we've got local employers from early childhood that are on this committee that we're looking for something a little more. Even though we have Lake Superior State University, which has the bachelor's degree program, which is right in our doorway, it wasn't beneficial to their students in their field because they needed to be with the children Monday through Friday during the day, which was when classes were being offered, and it wasn't beneficial to them or helping to meet their needs. So this was the reason that they were looking for grants and working through this process here. So as we go through, so the big building is the administration building. The X building is the McNickwick building, and it's the building that's got the majority of the classrooms in it. And then the little building in front is our library, which is open to community members as well. So they were looking for something more and knowing that they needed to have a family-friendly version to be able to work with their employees that would meet that need. So they wanted the ideal online program. So they were key in writing the grant, and they were key in the development of the whole process. I even worked with them step by step to research programs across the nation, offered tribally and non-tribally, of what classes were out there. They were specifically looking for 2 specific classes to be enrolled in this bachelor's degree program. One being challenging behaviors, because that's becoming more of an issue in early childhood. And the other, what they wanted to address, was specifically the psychology of childhood trauma and recovery. They wanted to be able to, that generational trauma, they wanted to be able to have their teachers qualified and know how to manage and handle and help intervene in the classroom with those processes, which possibly could also have developed some of the challenging behaviors. So they wanted both of those to be able to help manage and go forward, which was a great idea and a little bit troublesome to make. So not only did they help develop the program, they also helped wrote some of the classes, along with our adjuncts and myself and the key people here. So as we went through the process, we got the grant I started in January of 2017. I think they got the grant in September. We were actually ready, and as we did all our paperwork, our research, and our documentation and developing of our classes, that had to be approved one by the curriculum committee for the college. And we had our review in February of 2018 by the Higher Learning Commission. And we were approved for that summer to start our bachelor's degree program completely online. But the advisory committee chose not to start it till fall, thinking that they wanted it on a stable fall, spring, summer schedule, even though we offer the classes, almost every class year-round for our 3 semesters. So we were approved to be able to go ahead and start that, and we started that process and getting our students enrolled with our students that were here. As a tribal college, we do accept non-natives as well in our program. So our program is basically open, but we still have to meet the majority of our students that are tribal. So when I started here in the program, and that's the end of our little short video there. And when I started in this program, it was 23% native. Can we go ahead and go to the next slide? So we were 23% native here, and now that I'm actually in the program, okay. Now that I'm in the program, we actually moved to, right here. So we're at 42% tribal right now. So if you're looking at on the screen right now, we have it broken down for our 3 programs that we have. We have the CDA classes, then we have our associate's degree, and then our bachelor's degree. And they're tiered so they fall right in between each other. So this year for the 2019-20, which would be our first graduating year, we serviced 195 students. Out of those 195 students, 82 of them were tribal members. And if you look to the left-hand side of the column, those are all the tribes that were with us in the 2019 and 2020 school year. I highlighted the top 3 tribes just because I wanted to know where they were from. So Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians, we're a half hour from there. And then we have the Mississippi Band of Choctaw, and then, of course, our Bay Mills Indian community here. Right, it keeps going backwards. So if you're looking at this, I broke them down for you here so you can see the percentages as they went across. So looking at the red is our 42% with our 82 students. Then I wanted to see so we're servicing 30 tribes, and I wanted to know what states 30 tribes were from. So I kind of logged them out here on the United States map just so I can see where they were at and where we were servicing them. And I'm going to be honest, I had to go find where Alaska was up in this top corner to find out where the 12 states were, which I thought was wonderful to have 12 states participating in the program. It's a little bit hard to see, but it's small. So if you look at here, this is what our actually bachelor degree looks like. And if you look at year 1, our designated elective and then your approved elective is actually our CDA program. So those 2 classes filter right into our 2-year associate's degree. So they're getting 8 credits when they have their certificate. If they leave, they come back, they got 8 credits for the associate's degree. And then we built the bachelor's degree as the 2 years following the associate's degree. And here's these two classes that I was specifically talking about, challenging behaviors for early childhood, and then the psychology of childhood trauma and recovery. And then this is our first, we actually had, with the COVID, our graduation got kind of delayed. We actually had 5 graduates, all being Native Americans. These were 3 that actually decided to come to campus and participate in Walking for Graduation. So we have developed, our logo is educating students who will embrace and look out for our young children's futures in the next 7 generations to come. And then as we were developing our mission and our logo, we were looking at the turtle. We went with the Bay Mills logo with inside the turtle for these rights as the 13 rights of the Anishinaabe child, which is part of our program. So, and I have another short video here. It is actually just approved by the president this morning. It is, if we can go ahead and play this, this is our virtual tour for the early childhood program.
BMCC helps out the early childhood education students that are in Head Start programs looking to go back and further their education by allowing them to do their field placement on site. And we focus specifically on tribal programs, so we can go across the nation as well.
Looks like it might just be buffering.
This is Diana. I'm going to try to quickly re-upload it. Just give me 1 second.
Okay. So, so part of the college is working on, because we are online for several other programs that they're working on doing this virtual college so that the students can actually see and know what's available on campus for those online students, because we have more than just the early childhood program. But one of the big benefits that we have as the Tribal College for Bay Mills, we have a Board of Regents scholarship, and the scholarship allows tribal members to come to the college tuition free. So they still have their student fee and their online learning fee, but basically their tuition, so for the certificate and the associate's degree, which is $95, it's waived and they only pay the student fees. And then of course their textbook fee. So the same thing for the bachelor's degree level. Those classes are $285 per credit hour. And again, the Board of Regents waives the tuition cost for them, and it's just the student fees and that they would pay for that. So yes, it's a wonderful program. And if you look at it, they're basically, a tribal member can come here to Bay Mills College and get a bachelor's degree for about $5,000. And one of the added benefits that they have is not only is it just the tribal members, we also do that first generation down. So say my mom has a tribal card, but I don't, I can still submit her tribal card and come here and still get the Board of Regents and be tuition free. So that's one of the added bonuses that the college has put forth to help the tribal members as we go forward. I think what else we got.
Yeah, it's about halfway done uploading, so hopefully it'll be quick.
So yeah, we do have more programs than just the early childhood. It is our biggest program here. We currently have 195 students for early childhood. That's across the nation this semester. And we just recently hired, and I just seen the email just come through, we just hired a second early childhood full-time faculty members, and that will be on campus full-time. So to be able to give me some assistance to be able to work with the students one-on-one. We do a lot of coaching and mentoring in our program, and we do a lot of videos. So I guess one of the other added benefits in here that we do, so we got somebody from Alaska. Obviously, they're not coming here to our campus to do any of the early childhood field experience, which we have in almost every class. They can do it if they work in an early childhood program or a local program, as long as it's either tribal licensed or state licensed and in good standing. They're able to do that right there in their own town and their own area to be able to complete that requirement for the program. We do back and forth with their employer or with the mentor on site. But they also do a lot of videos. So we do videos back and forth and upload into our Moodle platform, which is our online learning system, where they go ahead and do that in there. Are we ready to go for the video, or it was still uploading?
It's uploaded. I wanted to ask, I'm not sure if it's going to show the video, but would you still want to show it with the audio playing?
Yes, if we could.
Yep, we'll go ahead and play it now.
BMCC helps out the early childhood education students that are in Head Start programs looking to go back and further their education by allowing them to do their field placement on site. And we focus specifically on tribal programs, so we can go across the nation as wide. We do our program completely online, so it allows them to be, as long as their program has state licensing or tribal licensing in good standard, they can do it right there at their facility and not have to remove themselves from work, needing that as an income as well. We do a lot of videos and a lot of back-to-back with coaching, but it all works out very well as being online. We're home-growing our own teachers then for our programs that are here. Even though there's still a shortage nationwide, this helps them in a step forward to fill those vacant spots.
I have a couple associate's degrees, and it took me to start working here to actually find my true calling. And so I went to BMCC, and I have been ever since, and I've got 2 semesters left to get my bachelor's degree.
But
I am a Head Start teacher, and I love it.
Links at the top of the page, we got Bay Mills Community College there. Those resources will be uploaded on the college website. It just got approved today, so probably by next week. We do have a student testimony in there as well. Otherwise, if we can just go to the next slide. And we just wanted to take the time to be able to thank ANA for the opportunity to be able to make a difference in the lives of Native families. So that's all I have, so I'm going to hand it back over to Melody.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. We will definitely be looking forward to the video going live, so everyone check out the resource links. I did want to just see if anyone had any questions. And if you're thinking of questions, we actually, Cheryl, while you were talking, there is a question that came in from Stephen. So Stephen asks, are there any doctorate programs that you know of?
Not that I know of, not from any tribal college. I can be honest. I said I'm currently working on my PhD, so I'm hoping in the near future that BMCC will allow us to go forward and possibly find a master's program.
Wonderful. Let's see. I don't see any other questions in the chat box, but just wanted to pause quickly. I know we're getting ready to towards the end of our time here together. Just wanted to see if anyone else had any other questions for Cheryl. All right, I'm not hearing any. Just wanted to say thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you for sharing about all of the amazing programs that you have. Just so exciting to hear about that, and such an amazing resource for tribal communities. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to come on and share.
Thanks, Cheryl. Awesome. So I wanted to transition to the next. We have a spotlight presenter, and I just wanted to let you know that unfortunately Carrie with Gila River Indian Community can't make it today, but she did want me to share a couple highlights from her program, and hopefully in a future webinar we'll be able to highlight more about the work that Gila River has done around professional development. So on behalf of Gila River, I just wanted to share a couple bullet points that Gila River receives the Early Head Start Child Care Partnership funding, as well as Head Start and the Child Care Development Fund grants. And they operate early childhood programs in their center, in the classrooms. they have implemented and adopted the full professional development requirements of the Early Head Start program once they received the Early Head Start Child Care Partnership funding. And one of the ways that they implemented it was that they ensured that their teachers were progressively moving forward towards obtaining a degree and making sure that is based on their job description and CCDF qualifications, as well as ensuring that they were made adequate modifications to match the qualifications for the Head Start guidelines and the Early Head Start program as well. And they also ensured that their courses and the degrees that their early childhood teachers were pursuing were based on their areas of specialization. So whether or not the teacher was going to be serving infants and toddlers, or if they were going to be serving preschool-age children. And their professional development process includes professional development plans for each individual staff member. And the professional development plan was really a huge support to help the program be successful in implementing their professional development. They had various questions that they shared that the staff members completed as part of their professional development plans. And they also implemented ongoing meetings between the staff member and the administrative staff in the program to ensure that each of the teachers was progressing in their professional development plan. And another highlight from Gila River is that through the Early Head Start and child care funding is their program was able to develop an agreement with a local community college, and they are located in Arizona. And that was to develop and host the CDA, or Child Development Associate credential courses within the Gila River community in order to support staff members that had internet or transportation challenges. So those are just a few highlights that Carrie wanted me to share on behalf, and she sends her regrets that she could not make it to our webinar today. So thank you to Carrie Stansbury with Gila River Indian Community for allowing us to highlight your program. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and transition us into our wrap-up of our webinar here today. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and hand this back over to Mia with ANA for our closing remarks.
Thank you, Melody. And thank you for the opportunity to join you here today to share more about the Administration for Native Americans and to also provide the closing remarks. I also want to thank our ACF colleagues for this fantastic webinar highlighting innovative practices for professional development in tribal early childhood programs. I especially want to thank our tribal program presenters, Catherine and Aspen from Taos Pueblo, and Cheryl. Thank you so much. I love hearing about the ANA program at your college. In tribal communities, our youth are always one of our most important priorities because they are our future leaders and the future of our tribal nation. So it's critically important for them to receive the best education possible. We also know that obtaining high-quality education during the early years of a child's development can increase their ability to have a more positive outcome in their future years. In addition, studies of educational attainment for American Indian and Alaska Native youth show that strong cultural identity and parental involvement correlate to better outcomes. So it is so important that our tribal teachers, tribal members, elders, culture bearers, and elected leaders are part of developing and implementing the programs. At the Administration for Native Americans, we are proud to provide grants for the community-based projects that enhance social and economic well-being of Native people. As mentioned, our projects have created culture and language-specific preschool curricula, helped tribes or tribal organizations start their own preschools or high-quality child care programs. And like Bay Mills, some projects provided culturally grounded professional development and certification for early childhood educators at tribal colleges as well as at other institutions of higher education. During my 8 years at ANA, I've been fortunate to visit some of the projects featured here today. Each project has reflected the culture and tradition specific to that community. one of the things that makes ANA unique as a program office is that there is no cookie cutter or standard approach. That is why the resources shared here on this webinar are so valuable to individualize our approach to workforce development, especially for our teachers who impact our youngest members of the communities we serve. ANA's funding provides much needed investment for the training of our Native teachers, especially language teachers, who will help to ensure our future generations are thriving. ANA looks forward to continuing to work with our ACF colleagues and other partners with the ongoing work towards meeting the strategic goals through the Tribal Early Childhood Work Group. The work shared today is a testament to the program staff all over the country that are dedicated to ensuring that our children have the best preparation possible for their future generation or their future education. By including both culture and families in a thoughtful and intentional way, setting those students and families up for the best possible success. I want to join the organizers and guests here today in celebrating these achievements because they are making a difference to thousands of children and families, not just during Native American Heritage Month, but every month of the year. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mia, for your remarks. And with that, we want to say aho de batha. Thank you so much for participating and joining us in our webinar today. We really appreciate your feedback. We put a link in the chat box if you don't mind clicking on it as you exit. We wanted to leave you with this quote on the screen and also an image of students celebrating Rock Your Mocks Week. Let us put our minds together and see what life we can make for our children, from Sitting Bull with the Dakota Nation. We really appreciate you taking the time today to join us on our webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can email, call, or click on the link to explore resources. Again, be on the lookout for a follow-up email with the webinar presentation slides as well as the recording, which will be posted on the Child Care TA website, and you will get a follow-up email if you register for this webinar. We really appreciate your feedback and really hope you enjoyed your time today. Thank you so much. And again, we just wanted to highlight a few of the resources that our presenters mentioned. And these slides will be sent out again in a follow-up email. So thank you so much, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you for celebrating National Native American Heritage Month with us. So take care and stay safe. Daki batai dode. Omaha.